Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today's video is all about using hydrogen peroxide to manage diseases on your tomato plants. Now let me go over the recipe first. I have a lot of videos on this from last year. I will link them. My recipes have changed a little bit, and again, this is about using H2O2 hydrogen peroxide on your tomato plants. Yes, it can be used on other plants. You just have to start low with the ratios and kind of work your way up and do test spraying. But today, let's talk about tomato plants. So for prevention, if you don't have any diseases, if you're just maintaining healthy plants, the general ratios for hydrogen peroxide per 1 gallon of water, this is a 1 gallon sprayer, just fill it to the line. I'm recommending 6 to 8 tablespoons or 3 to 4 ounces to a gallon of water. So it's 6 to 8 tablespoons, I'm going to repeat this because this is really important, or 3 to 4 ounces per gallon of water. And this is for prevention and maintenance. And you would spray this one time every 7 to 14 days. In a second I'll talk to you about how hydrogen peroxide works. Now if you have an outbreak, you have diseases on your tomato plants, we're going to walk through here. I'm going to show you a little bit of what is not a worry, and hopefully I don't find any diseases on here, but I'm going to go over that with you too. So if you're doing a cure and outbreak, it's 10 to 16 tablespoons. This is a tablespoon to 1 gallon of water, or that's 5 to 8 ounces. This is a 1 cup. So I want to talk about the H2O2, the hydrogen peroxide I'm using in the video. I picked this up at the grocery store or the pharmacy. It's right above my thumb, a 3% solution. It's 3% hydrogen peroxide. All my ratios are based on a 3% solution. When you look on here, you don't see 3%. You got to go to the back of the label, and it's somewhere right up there. But again, a 3% solution. This is not food grade. However, people have been using these products for decades as oral rinses and on their body, on cuts and stuff like that. I have no concerns or worry about using the 3% hydrogen peroxide from the stores. If you do, you can pick up food grade H2O2 online, but the percentage is going to be higher, so you have to adjust the product you're using for the ratios that I'm going to be talking about for mixing in. Again, 3% hydrogen peroxide. 1 cup is 8 ounces, or 200 and I believe 37 milliliters. So I found over time that I can use the higher ratio, a full cup of hydrogen peroxide, 8 ounces to 1 gallon of water. Now when you're starting out for the first time, start with a lower ratio and work your way up. That's on you, and you should keep a journal and just keep track of how you use the sprays. If you're doing something for curing an outbreak, you want to do this every 2 to 3 days for 3 or 4 cycles, and that will get it under control. So hydrogen peroxide is an antifungal, and you're going to spray it right onto the leaves. It works by contacting the leaf and then basically killing off the fungus. So when you spray it on there, the H2O2, hydrogen peroxide, lands on the leaf. It's an unstable molecule. The O2, that's 2 oxygen molecules, break down in sunlight. It releases an energy. That energy kills off the fungus. That's the short version. It's a little bit more technical, but that's how it works. So when you spray hydrogen peroxide on here, it doesn't stay on here for days. It may stay a couple of hours. It's going to react with nature, with sunlight. It's going to clean off the fungus off your leaves, and then it's gone. That's why you're applying it more often if you have an outbreak. And it also doesn't stay on here to prevent future fungi, funguses from getting onto your plant leaves. Unlike baking soda, when that sits on here, it stays on the leaf, changes the pH, and makes it unhospitable to future fungus coming until rain washes it off. Same thing if you put on wettable sulfur, same thing if you put on Serenade. It sits on the leaves and prevents it from the diseases from coming onto your plant. Hydrogen peroxide kind of cleans everything. This is my tomato hedge. So it's mid-August, we have crazy humidity. Let me just show you when you should start to worry. You should start to worry really at the beginning of the season if you have diseases and fungi that come to your garden. What do I mean by that? What has been most successful for me this year is knowing that these problems come, and I've stayed on a strict routine of spraying my antifungals, and I really don't have a lot of problems on here. But you just saw all those mushrooms. The humidity's been bad, and with an increase in humidity, I know that that's a great environment for the fungi to come to my plants and for my tomato plants. And the real fungus that comes here is early blight. So I'm going to come into here, look around. All this yellowing, perfectly normal. It's just this particular variety with the high heat. They yellow, they drop back, the leaves, you know, die off. Same thing with this plant. That's all just from the heat and just me having to water a little bit more. And you look around and I just see yellowing. If you had fungal problems, you'd see spots usually on your healthier green leaves, and those brown spots have yellow rings around them. I'm just looking for an example. All the healthy leaves up here, all the green leaves look great. It might look something just like that spot. That isn't it. That's a solid brown patch in there. Let's see if I can get closer. That's a solid brown patch, but you do see the yellow around it. Early blight is, let's see if this is similar. Well, it's hard to tell. Early blight can look a little bit like that. It's concentric brown circles within each other. And sometimes you'll get a pattern like this on your weaker leaves. That doesn't mean there's a problem. It just means the weaker leaves can't fight off fungi that are around, but the healthy leaves are. So I don't really see any problems, but that is perfect for prevention. And I wouldn't go in and prune this with my hydrogen peroxide spray. Sometimes people say clean it up, prune it out. Just get in here with the spray. I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to go over to another patch because I really want to explain the use of H2O2. I don't want you just listening to recipes I come up with for you in your garden and you just use them blindly. Thank you for trusting me, but I want you to test it out. Anytime you get a new spray, if you buy it in the store, you find it online or in the video, test it out. So for hydrogen peroxide, you want to soak, oh, got to do this one hand. Let me fix the sprayer. Make it a more fine mist. You want a nice fine mist just like that. And you're just contacting the tops and the bottom leaves really well to the point that they're soaking. And this might take, this tomato hedge, cherry tomato hedge, might take 2 gallons. And I would go through, I would spray all the tops of the leaves first. Do it in steps. This way visually you know you've soaked down the tops of the leaves. And then you come back later, just start from the same spot and start spraying the undersides of the leaves. And you want to soak that down. And because there's no disease here, I would do this once every 7 to 14 days, and that would just be prevention. If I had an outbreak of early blight or some other fungal problem, I would do it every 2 or 3 days, do 3 or 4 cycles of that. That's how you apply hydrogen peroxide. Now, it's a nice cloudy day. Sunlight quickly breaks down hydrogen peroxide. So if you can spray on a cloudy day, that's great. It'll stay on a little bit longer, it'll do its thing, and I think it cleans up the leaves a little bit better. Don't do this on a hot day in full sun. You can just spray in the mornings or spray in the evenings. Okay, let me take you down to another group of tomatoes that aren't a tomato hedge, and it might be a little bit easier to see, you know, how I take care of them. So this was my third wave of tomatoes. I think there are 8 plants in there, mostly larger tomatoes, some smaller cherry tomatoes. And again, you would get in, you would take a look. Some of this dieback is just from the variety. That's not from a problem. And the way you know is if this was a disease or a fungus or a problem, it would be through all of my plants. It's not going to just be on some of them. So some varieties are just more susceptible to dying back when the heat comes and the high temperatures show up. So same thing, we'll go on the other side. I'm going to show you how to spray. Hydrogen peroxide, as I said, can be used on all kinds of plants. However, you have to start with a lower ratio. So I'm using 1 cup per gallon of water. That's 16 tablespoons full, 8 ounces. This is a bean plant. When you have spider mites, hydrogen peroxide works really well on them. You could spray the undersides. I happen to know that the higher mix does work on bean plants, but I would start with, instead of 1 cup per gallon, start with a 1/2 cup per gallon and spray the undersides of your bean plants. And that helps actually kill off spider mites. They're so small, and hydrogen peroxide at this mix does damage them. It does cause a problem. Just a side note, and I'm going to say it again. Test spray. Don't trust a ratio for tomato plants and then go douse all your plants, because it's just dangerous. So in here, I've bottom pruned. I've got some tomato plants growing so that these stay healthy through September. I actually thought some of my plants would die off this year, and that's why I usually plant in waves. But I think because I stuck with routine prevention from the get-go, kind of followed my own advice, all the plants are staying alive. They're healthy. They're going to keep producing until September. So you want to really soak the plant down, and this is more standard. Most people have 6 plants or 8 plants in a 4 foot by 8 foot raised bed, and then just get under there and soak the undersides. And hydrogen peroxide is a great addition to the battle against fungi and funguses in your garden. I will put the ratios in the description of this video so that you can look them up. Hope this is helpful. I highly recommend hydrogen peroxide to be added to your repertoire of fungal fighting things you do in your garden. Quick review: one way to manage the fungus: bottom prune, let air circulate. Then spray with an antifungal that stays on the leaves. And then also use hydrogen peroxide so that when you see an outbreak, you can spray the leaves, help kill off that outbreak. Thanks for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com. I do sell the measuring cups that you saw in the beginning of the video there. Thanks for watching.